So this is the public part that everyone can see. If you have ever visited my Patreon page. So at the moment I have 61 patrons, which comes down to $268. And this is also why I want to talk about this. Is not just so you understand what is happening behind my channel, but also if you want to create something creative and want to go out there and also be professional about the things, what are important things about that? So this is Patreon income. And then we also have YouTube income. So you can see this month, this is euros. I have converted it in another slide. So this is 337 euros for that. The next one, this is Gumroad, and Gumroad is where I sell the product. So you get these kind of free packs every month, and then there's always premium options also in there. And for the last month, it was $415 for that. Now let's talk about the actual calculation of what that means. If you have Gumroad and Patreon together, $683, but of course, both of these platforms have fees which come down to around 14%. So if you deduct that from that, you end up with $587 from that, from both of that. And together, and then comes YouTube. Now it's converted to actual dollars. So this comes together. The Gumroad, the Patreon, and the YouTube money at the moment comes together to $957 per month. And of course, you have to keep in mind, if you're self-employed, if you do your own company, you have to pay of course, everything yourself. So you basically can halve your income at that point because you have taxes, you have to have all these kind of social expenses for payments for all the other stuff like the studio lights, the display, the microphone, all these kind of things. I bought a new computer so I can do better projects while recording the videos, stuff like that, which are specifically for the channel. So if you think about all that kind of process and you have $480 basically, you could say that I make about 10 videos per month, which is not only tutorials, but I also have creative chat, and then also I make these other videos that I create around that. For example, the time lapse for Krita. If you calculate 3 hours for every video, and it actually takes 3 hours from the preparation to the recording to cutting it, uploading it, creating the covers, creating the text, sharing it. So that's 30 hours per month. And then you can basically double that if you calculate in all the research you do and all the things you have to learn about licenses, about legal stuff, about YouTube, how it works, how to read the analytics, of course, preparing different topics and learning how these techniques work actually, and all these kind of things. So you have another 30 hours. So it's basically 60 hours that you have for $500. It's not really great. It's not bad if you look at it from the perspective that my channel is very young. So it's like 1.5 years old. And for that I even make any money is pretty amazing. But from the perspective of a professional, this, if I look at that and if I look at the numbers and how they run basically, for me, it means I have to become better at what I do. And as a creator, especially as a professional, it's really important to think about these things. Yeah, that's the point. So when you say, yeah, I made $0 on Shutterstock, that is exactly the point. Being professional in any kind of area basically means that you have to figure out how to do things so they are good for your customers and they reach enough people. And for me, it's also the thinking process. Like, for example, when you look at my statistics for Gumroad, apparently my products are not what you actually look for, because if you take into consideration that you have 13,000 people who subscribe to the channel and about 2,500 people who watched the video you made about the product, and then from these 2,500, 40 people actually bought it, that is not much. That is not a big number, and that means I'm not really doing a great job at the moment at creating things that you actually want to have. So I have to provide a better service in that sense, and think a lot more about what are the things that you actually want that are interesting for you, you know? Of course, there's always these two different routes where you can say, I want to be just creative. I just want to be an artist, and you can be just an artist. That is okay, but that also means that you make no money from that. Or you say, I want to be a professional, but that means you have to think about the market. You have to develop strategies. You have to network with other people, and you have to think what could work, what is interesting, how can I be part of the things that are going on. Yeah, how can I be a big dog, basically? Yeah, so that is interesting to understand. And a big part of that, as you can see here with my channels, is different revenue streams, of course. And this is also something, and I know from the other artists that I know from what I do, basically, a lot of people don't want to think about that because they say, no, I want to sit in my studio and I want to paint all day. But that is not a good way to do things, because today we are in a very fragmented kind of business world. So basically it means that you have to do a lot of different things. So if I would only have my YouTube income, you could see that this would be a third, and I would be like, it makes no sense. I can't go with that alone. See, and by the way, I learned a lot from YouTube and from these things that I do, especially also with my art, that I learned that art is not just about myself, because I know from conversations with other artists and also from my way or my past of how I think about art, we have this kind of idea in our head that an artist means that you do whatever you want and YOLO. But in what way and in what dimension does this respect the rest of society that gave you basically all your ideas and impressions and culture and energy and all the things that are surrounding you? If you think about it from that perspective and think, what can I actually give back to the community and not just take from them to create something that I, in my very egoistic way, think is wonderful, but how can I make the lives of other people better? At that point, I think now things get a lot more interesting and things get a lot more deep. They mean actually something. It's not your own elitist tower that you're throning on. It's just you think about, how does this world actually function? How do other people think and feel, and what do they need and fear, and how can I help them get rid of these fears to actually just create and do stuff? And money, and this, to bring it full circle, money is a good catalyst for that. It is a good point to figure out, is it actually something? Is there actually something great? And of course you can say, oh, wait a second, there are these visionaries and they have never sold a picture or a photograph or a design in their life, but then years later they have been discovered to be these visionary minds. Yes, but do you want to be like that? Appreciated by nobody, depressed that nobody likes your art? Or do you want to enjoy things and help people while you're still alive? And I think the second option is much more rewarding and much more fun. And this is also why I do this channel. It gives me a lot of free time to think about, to create, to read, to just have time for myself. So freedom, basically. Talking about the content packs, like the last one for the mock-ups, that was interesting for me because it did not work as well as I would have expected. But for me, it's always a learning process, because I think that I kind of figured out that for my community and for the tutorials that I do, the things that you actually want to have are not products that are an endpoint. Like a mockup is an endpoint. You put something in there and then you click save and then you put it on your website or wherever you want to show something. So that's an endpoint. I think because I do tutorials about creating things, a starting point would be much more interesting as a product. So things like, for example, the brushes, where you can do creative things on your own and it inspires you and it starts a creative process and it's the starting point of creating something on your own, is probably a better idea. And also I have to take that into account when creating the tutorials. Why not just make your own website? And this is actually a good point. I'm thinking about creating my own website where I can as a hub, bring all the things together, the YouTube videos and the lectures and the products and all the other stuff. And of course the community also, because right now it's split into 1,000 directions with Reddit and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm not 100% happy with that. And a community would be much better. The only thing that is holding me back to create that at the moment actually is legal things, basically legal things, because if I make a website for my own, of course that is okay, nobody cares, but if I make a website for a community, I have to make sure on one side that I respect all your privacy rights and all these kind of things, and not get sued for not having, I don't know, a banner that warns about cookies or whatever they come up with in all the kind of laws you get in the latest, like recent years. You get so crazy laws about also like content that users post, and then maybe it's a copyrighted picture, so I get in trouble, stuff like that. I have to figure that out. I have to talk to a lawyer and what I need to look for, how to set that up. And also a website can also get hacked, so I have to talk to a security guy to figure out how to do that, so it's really safe for the community, especially if I want to have money transactions on the website, which of course would go through a third-party tool like PayPal, for example. So I wouldn't handle any of that information. I wouldn't get any of that information, but still, of course, I want it to be very secure and yeah, working great. So yeah, I have to figure that out. If we come back to the topic of how to create different revenue streams, is try to always figure out a way where you can use things that you have already created or are part of your process of creation, but you can use it in a different form for another product to create an extra income. So that makes a lot of sense, because if you have to start new for everything, you just don't have the time and the energy unless you have a great team to work with. By the way, this is also a point why I need more income for my channel, why I need to get better at generating income with my channel, because then I could have a team, or at least one assistant would be nice. Not only get some of the workload to someone else, but to also have someone who is specialized in certain things that I don't have to care about, because learning all the things takes like hours and hours and hours and hours of reading stuff. I have read hundreds of pages of these kind of things, and there's so much stuff to know. Like, of course, products, and then selling, and then the statistics, and then inbound marketing. Then you have the newsletters, then you have also the social media stuff. And then you have also the legal stuff, of course, that also comes on top of that. And you have to compare different online shops and the different fees and how all this comes together. And you have to think about taxes. And do I have to pay taxes in different countries or just in my home country? No. The website and the courses and stuff, they are all part of the same thing. So they are not distracting. They are rather more like focusing, because you have to do them anyways. And you have to think about, how can I do these things and at the same time be good? So I have to focus and have to find really the topics that work and that people are interested in, and that I can present in a great way. So not to get sidetracked by topics that I don't really know or understand, and try to learn them so I can present them. That doesn't make too much sense. So do what you're good at, and then try to push it into different channels that help you spread it out to more people. Because, and this is also important, everybody consumes in a different way. Some people like YouTube. Some people say, no, I want to pay for a lecture because then I actually know it's going to be good quality, or I own it, the lecture, stuff like that. So people do different things for different reasons, or some people like to learn from books, all these kind of different things.